Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, we are live. Yes, we are live here on YouTube. Yes, we are here live on YouTube. This is today, of course, is Monday, the first Monday of 2026. It is Monday, January 5th. It is now basically 1:08 p.m. And depending on how long this goes, I do apologize for any interruptions. The phone may ring. And of course, as I've mentioned before, you guys that have lived with me not lived with me, but subscribed to me for very long, have been paying attention to my account for very long, knows what that means, if you will. But yeah, we are, like I said, live here on the tube, on the YT, if you will. So thank you all for joining me. And before we get started, I'd like to ask you guys to do me a favor, and that's as usual, like the video, like the stream, I should say, share the video, share the stream video, subscribe to the channel, and what else do I say? Oh yeah, ring the bell for notifications. I'm kind of distracted doing something here, guys. I want to try to link this to some area so everybody else will see it, if you will. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get to the live portion here. Let me see if I bring it up here for a second. It should show up eventually. Let me see. That's not it. Um, Hold on, guys. Let me try something on my thing here on my YouTube. Because sometimes you got to look up your channel to essentially get it to operate. There it is. There it is. Okay. Yeah, that's what I need to do. I just need to get it all up and running, if you will, all up and running. And hopefully you guys can see me. I think this is public. I think it really is. So hopefully you guys can see me. There we go. Get that little share button going. And then one thing about phones is they do allow you to copy many stuff and keep it in your clipboard. So I'll give it that. I will give it that. So yeah, let's get this going here. Go out to that. Let's see. But yeah, if you guys can do me a solid favor, as I said, like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, and share the video or the live stream, if you will. And also click on the links in the description. Yes, clicking on the links in the description helps me out tremendously, guys. You can go to various websites if you would like that has my content. You can find my content elsewhere on other websites, if you will. You can find me at basically all your favorite podcast affiliates, or your favorite podcast affiliates, if you will, like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and to an extent SiriusXM, because I know it goes there as well. I know it'll probably show up on SiriusXM as well, and everything. Trying to get something here. Let me see if we have to go back over here. But yeah, go there. It helps me out, like I said, tremendously in the long run. It really does. It really helps me out, if you will. And let me do something here for a second. Get to the descriptions and all that. Okay. Let's copy and paste that. And then go over to the things right here. Up here to here. Okay. Again, one thing about phones is you can copy and paste a lot of stuff and use it to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, do me a favor and look up my other places where you can find my content, if you will. You can also find me at Patreon. I do have a Patreon, guys. If you want to check that out, I will get that up and running once again very soon. Also, guys, I have a Venmo and a Cash App. If you want to help out there, it'd be greatly appreciated if you could do that. You know, in the long run, it'd be greatly appreciated if you could do that. Also, guys, I have a couple of online stores. I have a Fourth Wall store and a Teespring store. The Fourth Wall store link will be in the description at the top area, right after the description of the video and right after the acknowledgement of super chats and super thanks. You'll see the link to the Fourth Wall store, and then at the bottom you will have the Teespring store link as well. Also, guys, and also, guys, you can find me at social. You can also, before I say the social media part, you can also help out by going to various affiliates, if you will, not just here with the live stream, which I'll be probably posting later on. But you can also go to the other videos I've uploaded, like I did my vlog today, the Back to Status Quo vlog. You can check that out. Basically, there you can click on the affiliations there for anything you might be interested in. NFL, the description I gave about the Fry Force 360, the French doors, Colmea, if you will. You can check that out. All of it's there. It would help me out commission wise. It would help you out for whatever you need in the long run. Okay, so with that said, guys, we're going to get into talking about my predictions in just a little bit. Let me make sure I get the right affiliation here. Make sure I get the right one. Okay. All right. Now we just got to get the right. Um, well, let me do something here. We just got to get the right link here. Let me make sure I go get that the right. Let me make sure I get the right one so you guys can see it. Click on it if you're on social media. Okay, just want to make sure I get that. Okay, and then we're gonna select all on this. One of the things I do is I select all after I post it, like on Twitter, because I have a Twitter account. Well, of course I have a Twitter X account, but I have the paid kind, so I can do a little bit more with what I post. So let's go to there, and then we're gonna go to Blue Sky. Again, another place you can find me outside of X as well. I'm going to go to Blue Sky and post it there. Maybe just the link in the hashtags, if you will. But yeah, I'm going to do some predictions here in just a bit, guys. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have some fun. Yes, we are. Okay, so it's going to go here and everything. Oh, it's just the link itself. So okay, that's not bad. But we're going to go and find the. Here we go. Okay. We're going to get this. Go back. Yeah. Give me a minute, guys. Give me a minute. So we're going to go here and we're going to go there. All right. So we got that. And that's going to do it for right now because I'm not going to do the Facebook thing and all that just yet. But I'm going to do that for right now so people can find me on there if they want to check it out and everything. So anyway, yeah, to get onto the live stream here, guys. This again, hopefully you can see this if you're watching publicly. I think you are watching publicly because the thing wouldn't show up if it did. Just make sure it is public and skip that. Is it public and everything? Yeah, it should be. It should be public. And all that should be public. Yeah, I think, yeah, it is public, I believe. It is public, I believe. So, but yeah, we're going to do some predictions here, guys. And yes, it is public, just making sure there are two people that have listed on. Hello to you guys that just tuned into the live stream. If you want to pop on in, say hi. And oh, by the way, let me do something just in case right now. So I don't forget. I don't want to forget on that. Let me just chime this in real quickly. Let me just chime this in real quickly, guys. Oh, I hate these ads. Love the ads, but sometimes they, show up at the most abrupt times. So, yeah. Let me just get things going here, guys. Hold on. Okay, see. Where's the thumbs? No, not that one. That would get me kicked off. But anyway, okay, let's get back to it. Okay. Let's see. The clock, headphone. Let's see. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Oops, what is that? Okay, what's the other one? I think it's in here somewhere. No, it's not. It would be. There we go. All right, just putting something there, guys. But anyway, yeah, sorry about that. About 11 minutes in, so just should have got that all prepared before I started. I do apologize. Let me get some coffee here. But yeah, welcome. I'm probably going to chapter this if I have to. I do apologize. But yeah, welcome. We're going to do basically some predictions. I've been noticing a lot of folks as of late have been doing the predictions and all that for this year. Let me again double check, make sure everything is up and running. Oh, I got to pause that. One of the things about a soundbar that you have is you could use any HDMI connection for it. They do recommend you get a Pacific one, but I think when you get that Pacific one, it kind of helps out because if you don't have it, it does work still. If you have a normal regular HDMI, especially a good one, more modernized, it will work. But the thing is, sometimes it will go off. So let me make sure everything's good. Okay, just making sure. All right. So anyway, though, guys, like I said, I've been noticing, a lot of people have been doing some. I guess you could say they've been doing some. How do you put it? They've been doing basically some. How do I say this? Predictions. Those I've been following, like with wrestling and all that. They've been doing predictions and all that. And it's only mainly been wrestling, and I will incorporate that here. Probably be the first thing I talk about since Monday Night Raw is in just a few hours or several hours from now. Um, but I'm also going to talk about other predictions as well. So as to what I see happening, based on what I've seen so far and heard. I also have a couple of things here. Um, this is okay. I have another page. Hold on, guys. I gotta have another page around here. Hold on. All right, sorry about that, guys. I left it in the kitchen when I was getting me some coffee, so I can have the energy to do this. But yeah, I've got some stuff here. What I did the other night, is I went on to, basically Chat GPT because I was watching Alex Hicks, just Alex here on YouTube, just Alex Central here on YouTube, and when he did his predictions for wrestling, he used Chat GPT to essentially give him an idea as to, ranking wise, what is the most likely and not most likely to happen this year in professional wrestling. And, ChatGPT gave him a decent list from what it sounds like and everything. It gave him a decent list, but But the thing is, he doesn't know, neither does anybody else know, whether or not that's going to come to pass. You know, he doesn't know it. I don't know it. You guys don't know it. Nobody really knows. And thank you for the like there. I really appreciate that. But nobody really knows whether or not something's going to come to pass or not, in the near future. Nobody does. Nobody really does. Um, but with that said, he mentioned that he used ChatGPT to essentially, you know, give him this idea as to what will ranking wise likely happen and not most likely happen. Basically it's like, okay, this is going to happen, no doubt, but this won't happen. Basically, and the way he ranked it was from top to bottom. It's like from the bottom is the most likely. The most likely is the bottom and everything. Don't want to do that. Okay, so hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me do something real quickly. Be the first time you see me wear this. So what I'm gonna do is I want to put this onto TikTok. If you all want to put the link and all that on TikTok. So hold on for a second while I do this. But yeah, Alex basically did like I said, he did a predictions video where he essentially what he did is he essentially, like I said, ranked from the bottom to the top, from the bottom to the top. He essentially what he did is he ranked what was going to happen and what was going to happen, which would be at the bottom, and what less likely was going to happen. So it was one of those kind of situations where it's like, okay, we get it, but you know, is he going to be right? Is he going to be correct? And everything. And that's a good question, to ask. Is he going to be right? Is he going to be wrong? We don't know. We don't know. So I figured, okay, if he uses ChatGPT, I'll use it as well for some of the things I want to talk about here. But I'm not using ChatGPT for everything. Because another person I follow, Solomonster, Jason Solomon, he also did a predictions thing on his podcast on Sunday, which he put he uploaded a clip of, excuse me, onto his channel, his YouTube channel, as to what he feels potentially is going to more than likely happen. And I hate that that TikTok is put this little puzzle thing here. There we go. But he's kind of done a video where he basically, like I said, it's a clip from his podcast on Sunday where he basically talked about what he feels is going to happen. And he even acknowledges, yeah, I didn't get it all right at first, which he didn't, because he did a prediction last year. He did a prediction last year, and he didn't get it totally right. He didn't get it like on the nose or anything. He didn't get it on the nose. So he basically was like, okay, let me try again. So he's trying again and everything. He's trying again and all that. And basically, long story short, as I try to find something here that's going to work. Hold on, guys. No, I definitely get quit. Nope, no. Here we go. Is that it? Does that work? Oh, no. Here we go. Just put that there. Okay, that didn't work. Let's retry again. Trying to put this, like I said, on TikTok. I do apologize for the delay. But yeah, he did his own prediction without the help of ChatGPT, but I do have some here as well. So again, I do apologize for the delay. I'm trying to get as many people to see this, and these these security things are driving me crazy. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you that have TikTok yourself, you know what I mean, right? Basically, the whole, okay, why is this happening kind of deal? Why are you having us do this and that? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because why do we have to put a security thing on TikTok? I mean, I understand TikTok is now owned by some people here in the U.S., but it's like, come on, seriously. enough. You know, let me see here. Not that. No, no. Let's see. Hold on, folks. I know I can get something here. Okay. See now. But yeah, my predictions, I feel might not come true either, but it's just one of those situations where you just got to roll with the tide. You know what I'm saying? Got to roll with the tide and see whether or not it might happen. Because it may or may not. We don't know. We don't know or anything. So let me see here. Got a lot of pictures. I'll say that. One thing about me is I like to download images that with AI, like the ones you could use and everything. Like the ones you could use and all that. No, that's not going to work. Let's see, what can I do? I'm gonna probably have to go to my Facebook and download something. Probably have to go to that. But anyway, I'm gonna just start out with some predictions right now. Like I said, I was gonna start out with wrestling. Again, I do apologize for the delay. About 20 minutes in, uh, I do apologize. But the predictions I have basically for wrestling, like starting tonight, starting this week, we know that Monday Night Raw's Netflix season 2 premiere is going to have a Strangers thing theme to it. So whatever that means, whatever they're going to do with that's going to be interesting. But it's being headlined by Braun Breaker challenging CM Punk for the world title, and a lot of people like the ones I mentioned with the wrestling channels are hoping that WWE does the right thing and puts the belt on Braun. I mean, even some are like, he's going to win the championship on Monday. Right, right. Basically, in their own kind of like playful way, they try to intimidate. I'm not saying they do intimidate, but in their own playful manner, they're trying to convince. They're trying to will WWE to make that decision. But what I don't think they understand. And hold on for a second, guys, while I look at something here. Okay, so all right. This is good news here. This is good news, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But let me find my thing here. Let me go here. Let me go to reels. So I got some reels here. So find something here. Okay, I think I found something. Okay, let me download that. Not download, but let me put that down for a second. Okay, trying to find one that's proper enough. I've had to basically upload a lot of videos onto Facebook and everything. I've had to do that. I had to upload a lot of videos and everything. No, I don't want to do that. Trying to find one that's good. Ah, here we go. This might be good. That's to my profile. I want to. Hold on. No. Oh, I know. Well, but yeah, like I said, tonight is Braun Breaker versus CM Punk. Now, what I just read, and when I said that was good news, is that Ryan Ward is going to be overseeing a lot of the creative on both Raw and SmackDown. And he's a good guy, very, very good. So my assumption is he might do what a lot of fans are hoping, like, okay, Braun Breaker's hot right now. Let's put the belt on him. That's the right thing to do. But he's also the kind that'll be like, well, we could put the belt on Braun, but what if we went this route and instead kept it on, CM Punk, kept it on CM Punk, but we did it in a way to where Braun loses it thanks to either Seth Rollins showing up, disguised as a masked guy and then reveals it's him, but he's not clear, but he's gonna keep making the Vision's life a living hell, or Austin Theory, who's now the newest member, ends up betraying him. And basically, we find out Austin Theory is an inside man for Seth to get even with the Vision. We don't know. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. But there's a lot of chances. There's a lot of directions they can go in when it comes to tonight. And I know a lot of people would love for Braun to become champion. I know that. I know a lot of people would love for that to happen, and I don't blame them. I really don't. Um, but to me, honestly, though, I I'm going to be honest. As I'm looking through here, I just I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I mean, if it happens, it happens, but I just don't see it really coming to pass. And the reason I say that is because there's reports that you could have Chris Jericho back by tonight, which would be huge. That would be a huge deal. Chris Jericho back by tonight. That would be a huge deal in WWE. So we don't know. We don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it would be interesting to say the least. Let me see if I can find something here. Let's see. Trying to see something here, guys. Hold on. I'm gonna do this on my on my camera. I'm not gonna do it off my phone or anything, but I might just send it there. But like I said, basically with Ryan Ward, who again is a good guy, apparently a very good person to have on the creative side of things. Because I think what's happening is WWE's realizing, oh crap, we're probably going to get our rear smoked. We're going to get our rear smoked if we don't do something, right now. If we don't do something, to basically get ourselves back on track. And the reason I say that is because you have someone like just Alex coming out and saying that he feels this year AEW is going to have a bounce back year, and they might. They might. I mean, as I've mentioned before in another live stream, which I pieced together, they definitely feel like they're on the verge of doing that. They feel like they're on the verge of doing that, but it's up to them to really come through with it. It's really up to them to come through with it and all that in the long run. And whatever they got planned, hopefully, it's worth it. Hopefully, it is worth it in the end. Hopefully, they got pretty much a lot of things lined up and everything. They got a lot of things lined up going forward. But we'll see. We'll see what they do and everything. I just got to create a little video here so I can use it to put stuff onto TikTok. So hold on for a second, guys. Hold on for a second. Gonna round this up. Okay. Let's see if the email will allow it to be sent. But basically, like I said, Alex, he comes out and he says that he feels it's going to be a bounce back year, and it could be the year they take a lot of momentum away from WWE. But I don't know. I mean, WWE is still kind of pretty much a hot item, and if you're going to put someone like Ryan Ward, back in charge, creatively, where you have two other guys that were in charge briefly, kind of being like, okay, we'll be the people behind you, then that's good. Then that's okay, I guess, in my opinion, from what I can tell. And we'll find out tonight, because obviously tonight's going to be his first night back behind the saddle and everything. So we'll see what happens. But again, with him in charge and Triple H, backing him, and Nick Khan backing him, anything's possible. I mean, again, if Braun Breaker does walk out the champion, that's great. But as I said in the previous live stream I did a couple days ago, I don't see it being long. I see it being more transitional. With Braun, I can see him going to Elimination Chamber with the title and losing it back to CM Punk either one-on-one or in the Elimination Chamber match itself. I could see that. So we'll see exactly what direction they're gonna go in, starting tonight, with with the first Raw of the new year, the season 2 premiere on Netflix, if you will. We're going to see where they're going to head and all that going forward, because it will be interesting to see how they work with this potential, because a lot of people are like, well, you got all this momentum for Braun and everything, and people are saying Braun smoked Punk, in the face off last week on the mic. So yeah, there's a lot of evidence there that Braun should walk out with the title tonight. But the way things are set up, and the fact that, again, like I said, you have the rumor, Chris Jericho returning tonight. It's almost like, yeah, Braun should win, but Braun's also being penciled in, according to reports, to be one of the favorites to win the Royal Rumble. So how can he win the world title tonight if he's penciled in to win the Royal Rumble? It doesn't make sense. Now, unless he wins it, loses at that Rumble, and inserts himself into the match, itself, the Rumble match itself, then that's a different story. But overall, we'll have to see, because they might be setting up CM Punk against Chris Jericho if Jericho returns tonight. That's the most likely direction, in my opinion, that they might go with. You know, they might go with Chris Jericho being the one that basically challenges CM Punk at the Rumble. And what better high quality, high profile match could you go with, in my opinion, than that, for Saudi Arabia. And so again, this tonight's going to be a toss up. I will say that it's going to be a toss up, but we'll see. We'll see what they do. We'll see exactly what they do, going forward. If they do it, they do it. If they don't, then there's then there's not much we could say about it. I mean, yeah, people will complain. Don't get me wrong. People will complain. They will get on WWE. They will get on Ryan Ward. After praising him today and everything, and him being back, they'll get on them. But again, you know, people have to realize it's part of a bigger picture. It's part of a bigger scenario, if you will. Then I think we could get we could really fathom and everything, because I mean, look, you can't. Okay, just making sure I get a lot of this here. Hold on, guys. But you can't tell me that WWE, they don't realize what they got when it comes to, Braun Breaker. You can't tell me they don't know that. They do. They do know what they got when it comes to Braun Breaker. But when I look at these kind of matches, especially with a young talent like Braun, I see them. I see them mostly like they are a test. They're like a testing ground, if you will. And what I mean by testing, I mean basically they're the kind that essentially they'll put a young talent like Braun in there, but they won't give him the title right away. Like, how many times have we seen that? Throughout the years, under Vince and not under Vince. Not just in WWE, but everywhere. How many times have we seen that? Oh, yeah, like you'll go to, let's say, an independent. Let's say you go to a major independent show, and the champion's going up against an up and comer. That's really blazing a trail in the independents, and especially in that promotion. You think, okay, that guy's going to get the title, right? This is his night. But then when he doesn't, you're like, what happened? You're asking yourself what happened, and then you find out later on that, oh yeah, he's going to get the belt. All this was a test run to see how he or she can handle being in the main event, being in the world title picture, when it comes to the foreseeable future. So that basically, in my opinion, is why I think, honestly, they are potentially not going to put the belt on Braun tonight. I just don't see it. Now, if they do, that's great. And if I was them, and if I'm Ryan Ward, and I'm like, hey, let's put the belt on Braun. Yeah, he'll probably be like Edge was when Edge did the cash in 2006 and only held it for a couple of weeks till the Rumble. You could do the same with Braun, and basically have him drop it back to CM Punk at the Rumble, maybe Elimination Chamber in Chicago. But if I'm Ryan Ward, I would have it written out. I would describe it to Punk like, okay, the bell rings, and all of a sudden, as soon as the bell rings and everything, you guys will lock up and all that. And just when it looks like, you get to a certain point, like maybe a few minutes in, that's when Braun will suddenly just do his, 80 miles per hour kind of thing, hit you with a spear. Then you get up, he hits you with another, and then a third, and then that's it. Three spears, he's out, and do under maybe 5 minutes. You do that, you establish Braun as a beast and as someone that is good, as someone that whoever challenges him, even in the short term as champion, is going to have a hard time getting that belt off him. So so to me, it's one of those situations to where basically you just gotta hope and just hope and see exactly what they got in store when it comes to Braun. Excuse me, but that's tonight. But we also have another major championship, the other major championship in WWE, and that is the WWE Championship, the undisputed one against where Cody Rhodes defends against Drew McIntyre in Berlin, Germany, in 3 stages of hell. Now the first match. Now, the 3 stages, the 3 matches are a regular match. It is then the second one's a falls count anywhere, and the third is a steel cage. Now, a lot of people are hoping that this is it. This is where Drew becomes champion, right? And again, a lot of people playfully, in their own way, when they do the live stream or the recordings, they'll be like, they'll be talking about this match and be like, so this is where he becomes champion, right, WWE? Right, Hunter? Right? You know, Basically they do playful intimidation to try to will it into existence. But we don't know whether or not that's going to happen or not. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. Now, Ryan Ward being back, does set things up to where, because Ryan Ward is close friends with The Rock. He is The Rock's personal writer, but The Rock, obviously can't be there right now unless he makes a surprise return tonight. But he can't. But because of his Hollywood commitments, the fact that he's got a Screen Actors Guild nomination, as well as a Golden Globe nomination, and all that for the Smashing Machine, that's taken up a lot of his time. And honestly, even though he has the final say in a lot of the things he takes part in, you can't tell me that a lot of his agents and all that are trying to keep him away from that WWE thing. So I'm thinking bringing Ryan Ward in, is probably with The Rock's blessing is like saying, hey, Ryan, go do your thing, help them out, and all that. And if I become available, then I'll let you know, and you can let Hunter know. And that might be what happens. We don't know. I mean, I know the first thing people will look at when it comes to that is, oh, Ryan Ward is back. Ryan Ward's going to do the right thing. He's going to give the people what they want. But again, we don't know that. We, for one, don't necessarily know that for certain whatsoever. We don't know whether or not he'll do it. Because again, he is the creative writer. He is head of the creative. But it doesn't mean he will have the final say. He'll basically decide what the direction he'll decide what direction the story goes in. But as far as like, okay, how do we book it, to proceed to the next level? Because that's the one thing apparently he's gonna want to know. It's like, okay, if you're gonna go with Drew, okay, it's like if they go with Drew, Ryan Ward's gonna be like, okay, we're going with Drew. Let's see what we can do from that. He'll look at it and be like, got it. I got an idea. Or if they go with Braun tonight, even if it's transitionally, okay, got an idea. He'll want to know the direction and everything. He'll want to know the direction. So it's possible. It's possible that we get something down the line, but we just don't know exactly what that will be. Just yeah, we don't know exactly what that will entail just yet and all that going forward. We don't know. We don't know what that's going to entail, and I just want to make sure it's on TikTok and everything. So again, I do apologize for that, guys. I do apologize if I kind of did that in session. But you know what? I'm not the only person that live streams that has to do things while they're live streaming and all that. I do apologize. That's on me. But like I said, Ryan Ward being back apparently is a huge deal because it allows WWE to basically take that next step. Matter of fact, let me. I got to be careful here. Okay, sorry about that, guys. My computer, my screen there crashed for a second. I don't know why that happened. Hasn't done in a while. But anyway, well, overseeing, and I do apologize for the crash there. That was not supposed to happen. I don't know what happened. But anyway, what that means, the overseeing, ladies and gentlemen, is whatever ideas they come up with, whatever ideas, Road Dogg and his co-lead will work, co-lead on creative on SmackDown will come up with, and the same with SmackDown, like Alexandria and that John guy. Whatever ideas they come up with, Ryan Ward will oversee them and be like, "Yeah, that sounds good, but let's try this." In other words, he'll be like, "Yeah, this is a good direction, guys, but how about we put this in instead?" In other words, it'll be like if somebody says, CM Punk wins by a roll up and everything. He'll be like, "Yeah, that sounds good, but what if Braun Breaker hits him with a spear right as soon as the bell rings? 1, 2, 3, establish him as a dominant force." There you go. That could be what we see. Not saying he's going to be the one that takes charge of everything, per se. Not saying he's going to be the one that takes charge of everything, but he's going to oversee it. He's going to oversee it, if you will, going forward. So that's why you have some people that are happy that. Where did my phone go here for a second? Looking for my phone. Oh, it's right here. But that's why you have someone like Alex's World on Facebook. And that's Alyx. Alex. That's how he spells it. Alyx. You have him so happy on Facebook because again, this guy will oversee it. And everything. In fact, let me bring up the definition of that right now. Let me bring up the definition of that right now. Huh. What does overseeing mean? Supervise. A person or work, especially in an official capacity. So he's going to supervise them. So he's going to be like, Road Dogg, Brian James, you know what? That's a good idea, man, but I want to supervise you on how to make it better. In other words, Road Dogg could be like, "Oh, what if we have Julia, accidentally fart, or not Julia, but her the girl she's with, the girl that's managing her. I can't think of her name right now. Um, she, I know Kiana James. What if they say? Well, what if we have Kiana do a farting gimmick and all that? Ryan could be like, "Yeah, but that doesn't work." He says, "But I'll tell you what will work is if Kiana makes her intentions known that she's not really, all about Julia and she's about herself, and she's just using Julia to get to that U.S. title. That could work." And Road Dogg would be like, "Oh, I get it. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's something we could do, you know." And I think the reason they're putting Ryan Ward in charge, kind of in that supervising role, is for the fact that they've been hearing the complaints. They do listen, not just from us, but from the partners like ESPN and Netflix, and they're like, "You know what? We can't lose these guys. Ryan Ward, supervise them, show them how it's done." And by supervising, they make sure you do a better job. Like, look, when I got supervised over at the place I was at the end of last year, mostly towards October, the guys that would supervise us, or at least the main supervisor, would be like, "This is how you do it," and he would show me how to do things. And I tried my best to emulate that, tried to do it at my own pace and all that, because that's what they recommended. So that's what they're saying. So that's what Ryan Ward's job is going to be, is to supervise them, let them basically be like, if they want to do, if they're doing it this way, he could be like, "Yeah, but let's try it this way, because this way will be more efficient and it makes more sense storyline wise." So whether or not we see that go into effect tonight with Braun Breaker and CM Punk and the most of Raw's Netflix season 2 premiere, we'll have to see, and whether or not that translates over to whether or not that translates over to SmackDown in Berlin on Friday, we'll have to see. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But my predictions of wrestling, at least at the start, as far as these episodes go tonight, is one, it's a toss up, there. But the way things are just panning out, and again, Ryan Ward being back, overseeing, supervising, does throw a wrench. But but him being back or not, I just don't see CM Punk losing. I don't. I mean, if he does, then Braun's only going to be a transitional champion. I mean, I know a lot of people could be like, so he's going to have it to WrestleMania and go past WrestleMania and be Roman, right? Right? You think WWE is going to take that seriously, that intimidation or playful intimidation seriously? No, they're not. They're going to be like, okay, guy, we get it. You want Braun, you'll get Braun, but don't worry, it's going to be in time. Because they have specific ways to get someone to the top in a different manner. Maybe not in the way you see it now, but in a way that you might appreciate later. So same could be with Drew. Drew and Cody's another toss-up. People be like, so Drew's going to finally win it, right? Right? You know, you can't do that and think they're going to take it seriously. I mean, I know it's all for playful content banner and all that, but the reality is this: we're not the ones working in that office. We're not the ones working in the office and all that, if you will. We're not there. We're not working in the office creatively, deciding exactly where they're going to go. We're not the ones. They are. And basically, whether we want to admit it or not, as much as we would like to have that final say in everything going forward, as much as we'd like to have that final say, it's not our decision. Because sometimes, especially with Orion Ward, they'll go in the direction we may not like, but with him being in charge, him overseeing things, maybe them going in a direction we may not want might be for the best. So, basically that's essentially what we got to look at. Yeah, so right here, I don't know if you can see that, we're not in something like that. So we don't know what's going on. We don't have a clue as to what they got planned and everything going forward. We really don't. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, basically, again, everybody's reporting that it's all about him overseeing, him supervising. Because he gave us, according to Alex, he gave us a. Let me see. What did he say? Trying to find it here. According to Alex, Ryan Ward was the man who gave us that amazing SmackDown run in 2016, 2017. And yeah, he is right. It was a good run. It was a good run and everything. But I'm also curious as to what other people I follow say as well. Like JD from NY206. JD, one of the more open opinion people out there. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they do. But yeah, that would explain maybe why SmackDown this past Friday wasn't bad. But again, as far as predictions go, I just don't know what's going to be up their sleeve. But if they decide not to put it on Braun tonight and not to put it on Drew, then they're going to have reasons for it. But with Ryan Ward behind it, those reasons may be justified going forward. So I think we got to look at it that way. As far as AEW goes, AEW is off to the right path. In my opinion, I think with MJF as champion and them getting some of the crap together, I think definitely you could see a change in momentum. You can see a change, in direction, in trajectory, if you will. But it's up to them to cross that finish line. It's up to them to really take it to that upteenth level they were at years ago. And does that mean basically by the mid portion of this year, 2026, or the end of this year, 2026, does that mean they could be selling out massive arenas again? I would say no. I don't think it means that. I think primarily what it means, essentially, what I think it means essentially is, they're probably still going to be in the smaller venues because, even if they gain that momentum, they're going to realize, hey, we got to still build, that trust back up. We still got to build that trust back up and everything going forward. We got to do that. And, if they don't do it, it's not going to help them in the long run. It's not. It's not going to help them, entirely going forward. If you know what I mean? It's not going to help them, period, as far as I'm concerned. But again, it's going to be up to them. It's going to be up to them to get to that level, get to that next state. That next look, got tongue tied there. The next state. Let me get some coffee. I almost had a brain fart there. But that next state of evolution, with their with their show, with their program and everything. And this is going to be a very important year for AEW too, because again, they are on the right track, as far as what they're doing and reestablishing stuff and all that. But they also need to basically realize that one of the best ways to get that momentum back as well is to keep things, as they have them right now, but also make some sacrifices. And one of those sacrifices I think they're going to have to make, especially with this being the year where where basically the WB Netflix deal is going to, come to fruition. It's going to be finalized, pending anything else coming up, and I'll talk about that later. You know, it's going to be an interesting run for them because even if Netflix does go all the way through and obtaining Warner Brothers and helps them spin off Discovery Global as its own, it doesn't mean the person in charge of Discovery Global or whoever is going to buy the Discovery Global portion is going to want to keep AEW around because of the numbers. All the way around. Linear broadcast, cable, or streaming. Those if those numbers don't reflect what they want, they may not keep them around, and they could have the pull to say, hey, we'll call up every other linear cable or streaming outlet out there and say, don't pick these guys up because they can't bring bring the game, bring their A game. They can't do this, they can't do that, if you will, going for the foreseeable future. Excuse me. So if I'm AEW, I definitely get my crap together, and if that means making a sacrifice of canceling Collision and just adding an extra hour to Dynamite, like just Alex mentioned in his predictions, then so be it. If it means giving the people that the stars, the wrestlers, the men and the women that people want to see championships and giving them long-term runs, dominant long-term runs with those titles, then so be it. You know, these are things that Tony Khan really has to look at and realize that, yeah, if I don't do this, I may not have an AEW to try to negotiate a new home for in the future if that's the case. So we'll see what happens. But AEW, I predict this year, and hello, Glenn, who is that? Gia Franco Lorata, thank you for coming in, guy. I really appreciate that. And guys, like the video, smash the like button, really helps me out. So super chats are open. Whatever you can do in the super chat area financially helps me out in the long run. And I do have affiliated stores. If you want to click on those items there, I will be listing them very soon after this is all said and done. If you want to check those out. But anyway, like I said, it's up to them. It's up to them to keep the momentum they started at the end of last year into this year. And sometimes that means making those sacrifices that I'm sure Tony doesn't want to make. But if it's to keep his brand on the WB brand, even if it's Discovery Global now and whoever owns them, then so be it. So be it. But, we'll have to see. But I think AEW will bounce back a little bit, but it's not going to be to where they're going to sell out 1,500, 1,600, seat venues here in the States. They might do it, they might do it internationally, but they won't do it, they won't do it, they won't do it basically From what I'm trying to say, they won't do it, here nationally, North American wise, I should say. I don't know why I got to drink some more coffee, guys. I'm getting some brain farts here. It's what happens when you do go live and all that on unscripted, live or non-live, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I think AEW is definitely going to have to make some sacrifices in that area to keep themselves potentially profitable and valuable to whoever buys Discovery Global in the future to remain on TBS for the foreseeable future, if you will. And maybe, in my opinion, use TNT as an outback, if you will, or a backlot, if you will, for the back for a return, if you will, for a return of the Battle of the Belts. You'll bring that back and make it a 2-hour Clash of the Champions like event, but you make it on TNT only, and you basically advertise it well in advance as to it being something big and important. You know what I mean, and not just something to put in there because you need to fulfill a quota and everything. So that's just my prediction. And as far as like where I think they can go, I think honestly keeping the belt on MJF up until at least All In is a good idea. But I would even keep it past it. I would even keep it past All in my opinion. I keep MJF as champion up until, and this is my opinion, up until Full Gear. Keeping him champion up until Full Gear. Maybe World's End, then you have him drop it. Do you have him drop? Now the question is, who do you have him drop it to? Do you have him drop it to Will Ospreay, or do you have him drop it to somebody different? I say this: you got a whole plethora of names lined up for him already after the first post World's End edition of Dynamite. You got a lot of names lined up: Hangman Page, Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe, Kenny Omega. All these guys are going to let themselves be known. I think honestly, it's just my honest opinion. I think you end this year with MJF dropping the belt, not to any of those guys, but to Takeshita. Kanitsuko. I can't pronounce his name right. I don't know why. Kanitsuko Takeshita. That's who you have MJF drop it to at World's End 2026. You have him drop it to Takeshita, and then go from there. That's what you do. Takeshita becomes world champion, beats MJF after a year because you can have MJF gloat that he's beaten everybody he's going to be facing, not once, but multiple times, proving he's better than everybody else and they know it. But then you insert Takeshita. Yeah, it'd be great if you give the belt to Will Ospreay and All In, but here's the thing. I think fans would benefit from a heel Will Ospreay. Think about that. Think about that. A heelish Will Ospreay would be perfect. And you know why? Because basically, if what some people are thinking and saying about and believing about Kyle Fletcher could be true, and he's going to go babyface, be gone from the Don Callis family, then who do you replace him with? You replace him with Will Ospreay, and you're off to the races. And Don Callis, by default, gets his golden key, gets his golden egg, if you will, gets his centerpiece that he needs for his family. So I would say basically not Will Ospreay. You go with Takeshita. You go with Takeshita, and I think that works out in the end. That's just my prediction of what they should do. As far as like the ladies go, yeah, I definitely feel Mercedes is going to get the world title, but here's the deal. I think she'll get the world title, not at All In. I think she's getting it at Double or Nothing. Yeah, think about it. She won the TBS title from Willow Nightingale at Double or Nothing, her first match with the company, right? 2 years later, I think it's 2 years later. Um, Hold on, let me see. I think it's two years later. Double or Nothing 2026. Have her win the world title, the women's world title. That to me, that to me would be perfect. Because again, 2 years ago, I think it's 2 years ago. Let me check, guys. When did Mercedes Moné debut for AEW? Okay, so it'll be 2 years. March 15th will be 2 years. And okay, let me check it. So yeah, it'll be 2 years this March 15th, that she's been with the company and everything. So yeah, basically it'll be 2 years. It'll be 2 years. And to me, what a way to do 2 years and everything. Yeah, it was May 26th. Her first match was May 26th. So I predict I predict basically. Let me see when May is this year. When the projection would be, because they always hold Double or Nothing towards the end of May around Memorial Day. It'll be the 24th, probably more likely 24th and 23rd when they have Double or Nothing, 2026. I think that's when she wins the world title, more than likely, in my opinion. And the reason I say that, honestly, is because it makes sense. You had her win the TBS championship 2 years prior. She's held it since then. One probably the longest, no, not probably the longest record-setting TBS champion in AEW history as of right now. So, what better way, or was I should say, she was, she holds the record, but she was the longest reigning. Depending on how long they go with Willow, whoever they choose to break that record in the future. But to me, I think Double or Nothing 2026 is the destination. Not Revolution. That's too soon. Double or Nothing. It would be the 2 year anniversary of her in-ring debut with the company when she won the TBS title. It makes sense to celebrate that 2 year anniversary, her becoming women's world champion. Makes sense. Makes sense to me. Now, as far as the other championships go, they've just got too many championships to be, in my honest opinion. I believe Ricochet, he's the national champion, right? So I believe Ricochet is going to probably hold that title to at least Double or Nothing as well. And I think he's going to lose it to Jungle Boy. I just, because they had to demand, they had to demand basically Inter Luchasaurus. So I think Jungle Boy is going to be the one that takes the national title from him at Double or Nothing, if not Revolution by the earliest. But I think most likely Double or Nothing. As far as the tag titles go, I think yes, Cope and Cage, Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, Edge and Christian, if you will, they will beat FTR. They will beat them, but then I got a feeling they're going to drop them. Not soon, not like they win them at the pay per view and then they drop them, a couple of days later. No, they'll drop them at a pay per view. I feel they're going to win them either at Double or Nothing or Revolution, one of those two, and they're going to hold on to them to at least All in Wembley. And I think they're going to drop them. Get this. You're going to like this. I think they're going to drop them to a debuting United Empire. And who that's going to be is anybody's guess. It could be Andrade and Jake Lee. It could be the Great O'Khan and Jake Lee. It could be anybody. But that basically, I feel basically we're going to get, we're going to get basically United Empire beating Cope and Cage for those titles. And then I think we're going to have them hold the titles for a while. I really do. I think this is what I look at. I look at 2026. If AEW is smart, if Tony Khan listens to the right people, 2026 is going to end with them crowning World Tag Team Champions for the second time in the Acclaimed, but a more serious, down-to-earth Acclaimed. That's right. Anthony Bowens, Max Caster are going to be tag team champions before this year's out, and it's going to be at the expense of whoever beats Cope and Cage. Whether it's United Empire, whether it's Jet Speed, whoever is, they will become the tag team champions. I mean, why would you basically be doing something right now where you're having Tony Khan in story, if there is a story, if you will, basically making these guys team up together when they don't want to? There's a reason for it. There's a reason. If AEW is smart enough, it will be because they're going to put the tag team belts back on them. That is a fact. That is a fact. Now, what about the TNT title? The TNT title is held by Mark Briscoe, right? I see Mark holding that to at least maybe Revolution, maybe Double or Nothing, one of those two at the earliest. But then I see him dropping it. But who do I see him dropping it to, you might ask? Well, he could drop it to Kyle Fletcher. That's an obvious answer. But I could see him dropping it, get this, to fellow conglomerate member Roderick Strong. Yeah. I think Roderick is going to turn on the group. I just feel like the way they're presenting him, he doesn't want to be part of this, or he doesn't want, or he feels like they're not taking things seriously, and they should. So I think Roderick beating Mark Briscoe and turning on the conglomeration, I think is the way they're going to go. I feel Roderick Strong's going to get the belt. I don't know why, but I feel it's going to happen. I feel it's going to happen. And as far as John Moxley goes, he's the Continental Champion. I feel John Moxley's going to hold that belt at least I would think to about, I would say, Dynasty. I think Dynasty is where he would drop it, and I think he's going to drop it to Claudio, if Claudio's still there. Because again, we don't know the contractual status of some of these people, but I think he's either going to drop it to Claudio or Pac. That's what I think is going to happen. He's going to drop it to one of those two. He might drop it to Darby Allin, but we've been there, done that. So I think honestly, excuse me there. I think honestly he's going to drop it to either Claudio or Pac, and you're going to have the Death Riders turn on Moxley in that manner. You're going to have two betrayals, honestly. You wouldn't have, as far as the two babyface groups go, you will have two betrayals, and as far as the heel groups go, you're going to probably have a betrayal by the same group onto two members, with the heel turn inclusion of one member you wouldn't see coming. And again, I think it's going to be Ospreay to the Don Callis family, and by result, bye-bye Takeshita, bye-bye Fletcher. That's what I feel is going to happen. Now, as far as the women's tag team titles go, I heard Solomon to say that he believes Bozilla is going to sign with the company, do a dual contract thing like Takeshita is doing, that she's going to sign with the company, and that her and Megan Bayne, who have had wars against each other and teamed with each other in Japan and Stardom, are going to team up and become the tag champs at the end of the year. Well, yeah, I do believe we're going to have tag team champions, but it's not going to be Bozilla or Megan Bayne. I think it's going to be a team you're not going to see coming. I really do. You know what I think it's going to be? Are you ready for this? We have Lena Reed. The former Katana Chance. Well, not Katana Chance, but yeah. What was? Yeah, was she Katana Chance? Yeah, Katana Chance. You have her, and you have Casey Catanzaro. I think what's going to happen is Casey's going to come in. She's going to team with Katana as Lena, and you're going to have them finally be a team again and go after the tag team titles. And I think that's going to be your team that ends 2026 with the tag team titles of All Elite Wrestling, unless Triple H and WWE make the phone call and they bring Katana back. Because let's not forget, we have a Royal Rumble coming up at the end of the year. And I think what's going to happen is that Royal Rumble may see the return of Katana. Not Lena, because she's part of the company, part of AEW Ring of Honor now. But I think Katana could end up basically back, in WWE, probably by the Rumble, if you will. But we'll see. Because they're going to need people on SmackDown and Raw for the U.S. and Intercontinental Championship scenes, in my opinion. So, with that said, what else do I see happening? Well, I see this. I see Ronda Rousey coming into AEW for a couple of appearances. Not Not a mainstay, not on the roster and everything, but she's going to come in for appearances, and she's going to feud with Marina. Now you might say, well, didn't her and Marina team up in Ring of Honor? Yeah, they did, and that was her only appearance in Ring of Honor. But I think when she shows up in AEW and she sees what Marina's part of, she's either going to join them, which would be huge, for the Death Riders. But I think also there's a good chance if you want to get her over as a babyface against someone like Marina, you have, you have a feud with Marina, and you have them go out there and have the kind of MMA wrestling style match that could unfortunately put the likes of Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey's match at SummerSlam to shame. You do that, and then I think it would not only get Marina over with maybe getting a victory over Ronda, but it could also entice Ronda to maybe consider, at least a 1 year run with All Elite Wrestling. So I think Ronda's going to make a few appearances in the company this year. I just get this feeling. I just get this feeling. Um, but outside of that, I can't say any more than that. But I will say this. I will say this. Um, as far as Bozilla goes, unfortunately, Jason, if you're watching, probably have to link this to you eventually. Solid Monster, I have to disagree with you. I don't think Bozilla is going to go anywhere near AEW for the foreseeable future. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think Triple H, Nick Khan, they're going to contact Stardom. They're going to contact them, and they're going to ask, because they can do this, whether people like it or not, just at an inquiry, hey, how long does Bo have her left on her contract? Well, they can ask in private, because that's been done, how long do you got on your contract? And then when she tells them what she has, when she tells them, hey, I got such and such, time, here's what's going to happen. They're gonna basically go check everything. Okay, everything's good. And then when the time comes, fax it, email it to her, whatever, FedEx, whatever they got to do, fly over there. Here you go. Everything you want, it's right there. Sign. And I've got a feeling before this year's out, Bozilla, she's going to be WWE bound. I just get this feeling. I really do, because here's the thing. All Elite Wrestling has Megan Bang. They don't need another dominant female in there, and I'm saying that with all due respect, no offense. So I think Bozilla is probably going to be WWE bound, whether people want to hear that or not. It's a fact. It is a fact. I think she's most likely WWE bound for the foreseeable future, whether people want to admit to that or not. She is. She is definitely. She's definitely basically WWE bound for the foreseeable future. So I see it. I see that happening, if you will. I really do. Now, what else do we have? Well, how about TNA? TNA in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today, no, not today, but 2 weeks from this Thursday, I should say, on January 15th, they will debut on AMC. They are on a big platform once again, for the first time since Spike TV. The days of Spike TV, now Paramount Network. They're going to be on a big network. And they're going to be headlining it, as expected, with Mike Santana and Frankie Kazarian for the World Championship. The question is, do they pull the trigger and put the belt back on Mike Santana? I think they will. But here's what gets interesting. We're going to have another call your shot moment. And it's going to be by Nick Nemeth. Yeah, nobody's talking about him. They are playing it off on TNA right now as if they completely forgot about him. Here's what I think is going to happen. Nemeth, as soon as Frankie and Mike Santana in a moment, it's not going to be after the match, it's going to be during. Where I've got a feeling Mike Santana and Frankie Kazarian are going to be down on the mat. You're going to hear Nick Nemeth's Wanted Man music, play, and he's going to be rushed out by his brother, Ryan Nemeth, to go after to call his shot and try to get the world title. But then here's what's interesting. Kazarian, he'll notice that Nick's going for the championship, is going to go and pin Santana, or he's going to notice that he hits Santana with his danger zone zigzag finisher, and he's going to go for the win. Kazarian will pull him off and be like, "What are you doing?" And then that will allow Santana to take advantage and hit his finisher, that spinning clothesline, the block thing, whatever it's called, on Nemeth and on Kazarian, and then he'll pin Kazarian on Nemeth, one of the two, and win back the championship. And then what that does is that builds to a triple threat. Because let's say Santana pins, Nemeth, Kazarian could be like, he didn't pin me. You could get a triple threat at Genesis. You can build to a triple threat three-way dance at Genesis. Now, what's even more interesting is you could have Nemeth go in, get ready to cash in his shot, call the shot and everything, but then you could have his brother turn on him. Yeah, you wouldn't see that coming, right? Nobody would see that coming. Because why? Because Ryan could do it out of jealousy. Ryan could basically do what Christian did back in 2001. Christian turned on Edge. Cage turned on Cope back then because he was jealous. He was jealous of all the success, Cope was having. He was jealous of him. This is what caused him to defect over to the Alliance, WCW/ECW group. But the point I'm getting at and everything is you could have Ryan Nemeth in that same role. Well, he's jealous of his brother, and he cost his brother his shot, and it allows either Santana or Kazarian to win the match. If Kazarian wins, then yeah, you could do a rematch at Genesis, and you can crown Santana there. Or if Santana wins, then you can have Kazarian blame both Nemeth, or blame Nick for what happened, or whatever, or he blame Ryan for what happened. So either way, I think Santana is going to be walking out with the championship. I really do. And I see for the first time in a while, a couple of years actually, a failed call your shot cash in, and it's going to be at the expense of Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler. Because Dolph, he succeeded with his Money in the Bank cash in. So what better way to contrast his Nick Nemeth, character, which is his real name, than by having him basically lose, his call your shot. And it's either thanks to Kazarian stopping him from winning, or it's Ryan Nemeth turning on him and either helping Kazarian or Santana to win. So there's those possibilities. So you got to think about that. As far as what else could happen on the premiere, I could see an appearance by AJ Styles. I can see some debuts as well, that were formerly WWE and AEW. I could see that. So it's going to be a must-watch on that night, and I've got a feeling the Solid Monster and JD and Alex Hicks, Alex's World, if you will, just Alex, are going to be covering it. I really do. Now, what's even more interesting is this. I've got a feeling this is the last year New Japan's going to be partners with AEW. Hear me out. You have the guy, what's his name, Yoshi, or Yosha, if you will, the guy that just won the IWGP World Championship, or the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, he's also the IWGP Global Champion, and he fulfilled his promise. He said, "Hey, when I win the championship from Takeshita, I'm going to go back to the version 4, the V4 Championship, and it's not going to be the world title; it's just going to be the heavyweight title." And he did. He's now the IWGP Heavyweight Champion and Global Champion. But I think he was the one that spoke out. He was the one that spoke out and said that he wasn't thrilled with the partnership New Japan had with AEW and felt that AEW was hurting New Japan more than anything. And obviously, he's not alone. He's not the first one to talk about this and mention it. And then based on fans' reactions last night at Wrestle Kingdom, especially during the after retirement match ceremony for Hiroshi Tanahashi, excuse me. And you saw the likes of Kenny Omega, you saw the likes of Kota Ibushi, you saw the likes of, Will Ospreay, that coming all down, to pay respects to Tanahashi. Basically, long story short, fans were booing, the booing AEW. They weren't booing the wrestlers. They were happy to see them. They were booing AEW. I think they were saying something about AEW sucks or something. So yeah, when you have that kind of, when you kind of have that kind of reaction and people are talking about it, I feel it's going to eventually trickle down, and it's going to trickle down, if you will, to the office, or trickle up to the office, I should say, to the higher ups, and they might consider, what, if our crew feels like this is not benefiting us and it's not benefiting them, if our fans feel the same way, guess what? We're going to end this, and they could do it. They could do it. They can end it. Now, would that affect, you know, would that affect some of the talents that have dual contracts with them? Not really, because basically AEW can't stop someone like Takeshita. They can't stop someone like, let's say, Bozilla if they get her, or anybody else from competing in New Japan or competing in DDT Pro, if you will. Yeah, they can't stop them because they're contractually obligated to be there. They could probably, they could probably make it hard to where they can't really be, at a certain event at a certain time. So they got to reschedule that appearance or match for another event. They can make it hard, but they can't prevent them. They can't truly prevent them, because if they do, it could get them in legal trouble, not just with the promotion, but with the talent they're holding hostage or holding back from going there. you know. And people, they want to talk about how WWE didn't let Nakamura, excuse me, go to Japan and pay respect or have a match with Tanahashi. Yeah, that was wrong of WWE to do, but Nakamura is a businessman, and he probably more than likely did this. More than likely, he did this. He called up or or FaceTimed or Zoomed, if you will, Tanahashi, and paid his respects. He wasn't able to do it in person, but via Zoom, FaceTime, Google Meet, whatever people use, he probably did it that way as well. Or he probably did it that way to make up for the fact that he couldn't be there. He probably did it, the night of the retirement. You know, but yeah, I don't. But yeah, I don't see the New Japan AEW. I don't see it lasting long, and which is kind of weird because you know I wouldn't say weird, but I'd say more along the lines of I would say more along the lines of it's kind of ironic that those comments come out by the new champ in New Japan, as well as it's also been echoed by many other talents and even some of the people in the offices, higher ups, if you will. Not like the person in charge, but other higher ups that might have influence. So to me, it does speak volumes that we don't know all the calendar. We don't know the entire calendar year for this year for AEW when the pay-per-view events go, but we do know that they like to have the Forbidden Door. So it's kind of weird that we don't see that probably talked about just yet. Not saying it won't be, but I think those comments that the new champ made kind of really might have an effect on maybe the Forbidden Door happening this year. In any way possible, in any shape or way possible, because if he and everybody else feels like they don't like AEW and what AEW is doing, then that makes things very awkward. So I'm I'm probably going to be wrong on this prediction, but I predict that before the year's out, you're going to get reports of New Japan, severing ties with AEW and potentially looking to partner, believe it or not, with TNA and WWE. I could see that. I could be wrong, but it's a wait and see situation, especially based on those comments. And to close out the wrestling, because I know this wrestling portion has been going for a while, I definitely feel like MLW is going to be, I wouldn't say become a big player, but I got a feeling they're going to land on a big network before this year's out. I really do. They were on Vice for a while during the Dark Side of the Ring run, if you will, but I've got a feeling they're going to hit a bigger network. And I think honestly, the network that's going to get MLW, you're going to love this. It's going to be FX. I think FX is going to get MLW. I think MLW is going to make a deal with them to where FX will financially provide them with the money they need for like productions and contracts and all that. And I've got a feeling they're going to also, by in return, put them onto a night to where they're not against anybody. Well, I don't know what night they wouldn't be against somebody, but at a time on a certain night they wouldn't be against somebody in the long run. So I think MLW is going to get a contract deal, media contract deal with FX. Now, if it's not FX, I've got a feeling it's going to be Paramount. I really do. It's either Paramount or FX, one of the two. Just my opinion. But I think MLW, the way they've been having momentum, they've been bringing in former WWE and AEW talents. I've got a feeling, we're going to probably see them on a major network before this year's out, or at least have the announcement that going into next year, 2027, they will be on a major network. And it's either going to be FX or it's going to be Paramount. And last but not least, I think Killer Cross, aka Karrion Cross, I think he's going to be back in WWE. I really do. I'm not saying that's a fact, but I've got a feeling he's going to end up back there. I'm not saying it's going to be the Rumble. I'm not saying it's going to be the Rumble, but I got a feeling that if he hasn't, here's what I'm going to say: if he doesn't show up at Maximum Carnage, or if he doesn't show up between Maximum Carnage and Revolution, or Maximum Carnage and Revolution, if he doesn't show up between any one of those, then I've got a feeling he's WWE bound. So that's what I think. If he doesn't show up at Revolution for AEW or Maximum Carnage, or even just one of the post pay-per-view editions of Dynamite, then he's WWE bound. He's going to go back. I've got that feeling. And now that you have Ryan Ward in charge, oh, I think he's definitely going to consider going back, because that's a guy that would love to work with someone like a Karrion Cross, a Killer Cross. So I've got a feeling he's WWE bound, especially with the news that Ryan Ward is going to be overseeing stuff going forward. Because Ryan Ward won't just be overseeing, the creative ideas that the head, the co-leads of both Raw and SmackDown are going to be trying to piece together. But he's also the kind of guy that will listen. He will talk with the talent to see what they want to do and try to implement that into the creative process. So I've got a feeling, especially with the Ryan Ward news, he's going to be back in WWE. But the only thing that's going to stop that is if he doesn't show up in AEW between Maximum Carnage and Revolution. Because let's be honest, he would have showed up he would have showed up about now. He would have showed up at World's End, let's be honest, and he didn't. So I've got a feeling he's WWE bound. I just got this feeling. And imagine putting him on SmackDown and feuding him with Alistair and Zelina. The story you could tell there is Alistair and Zelina stole the momentum, stole their gimmick, stole their opportunity, and off to the races. So that's just my opinion. I think he'll be back in WWE before the year's out. And again, the only thing that's stopping it is him showing up at either AEW Maximum Carnage Dynamite Edition or Revolution. That's the only thing that's stopping it. And again, guys, those of you that are joining me, we are about an hour and 32 minutes in. Those of you that are joining me, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and share this live stream / video. And also, super chats are open. Greatly appreciated what you guys can do. Whatever you can do would help me out tremendously. But now, with that said, let's get on to some other predictions outside of wrestling. And again, I do apologize for those going on for a long time, because also I was trying to basically link this live stream on various platforms like Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok. I do apologize for that and everything. That's on me. That's on me. But anyway, let's talk about some potential predictions here. Now, we're going to start off with something that I got off ChatGPT. This is I printed it out, and I asked ChatGPT, how likely will it be that they do a 40th anniversary celebration of Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer this year? ChatGPT said this: a 40th anniversary nod is pretty likely, but a big multi-month Sledgehammer 40th campaign is less certain. So a nod. So basically, them saying, yeah, people giving acknowledgement, basically maybe doing homages in the videos upcoming this year. That's very likely. Pretty likely, but a big multi-month Sledgehammer 40th campaign is less certain. Now, the other thing is, they did say what 40th anniversary means in 2026, and this is what they said. I don't know if ChatGPT is right or wrong, but they say Peter Gabriel's official site lists Sledgehammer released April 21st, 1986. 40 years will be on April 21st, 2026. So by then, you should see something. You might see a 4K release in high dynamic range HDR or HDR10 plus. So that's possible. So be on the lookout for that. So, but I think they probably do agree that could happen. They also mentioned So, the album that Sledgehammer is on, is listed as released May 19th, 1986. 40 years will be May 19th, 2026. So you might get a special you might get a special vinyl, CD, and audio cassette, you heard me right, release of So this year, 40th edition, to happen. The best estimation is high chance is 70 to 80%, 70 and 85%. Let me review that. It says high chance, 70 to 85%, some official recognition. Think social post, a featured homepage item, playlist, editorial push, maybe a YouTube premiere style repost. And then they say the reason. Reason, it's one of his signature works, and anniversaries like this almost always get at least a light touch acknowledgement. Now, the high chance of that happening, prediction wise, I predict yes, that's going to happen. I believe they will get an acknowledgement. Something is going to happen. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. Now, they do sense medium chance, a quote unquote real release tied to the anniversary. And that's a 25 to 45% chance, which is medium chance. They say most plausible, a Dolby Atmos / surround treatment for So, the album. Fan speculation keeps pointing there, and it's the kind of upgrade that's meaningful in 2026. That is true. A So anniversary package has precedent. There was a 25th anniversary deluxe box released in 2012. So basically, they're saying that the chance, the medium chance, predicting the medium chance of a Dolby Atmos re-release, kind of remastering the sound and all that, surround treatment and everything, like with Bose, like using things like Bose and all that, is possible, and it kind of leads in that direction. But they're also saying that the So package is precedent, so that's a possibility because that was a 25th anniversary edition. And then they say, so I'm going to go with the high chance and the medium chance more than likely happening in some capacity. The low chance, I would agree. They say a low chance, a major event, big concert, large scale exhibit is a low chance, which is 10 to 20%. It says main reason he's already rolling out a new album across all of 26 and on a Luna schedule, which likely soaks up bandwidth and marketing attention. Okay. So I do agree with that. Doing concerts and something like what Bojack does, is less likely. So I'm going to predict that what they say here, the percentage here, the high percentage. I don't know if you can see that. Let me put that right there. But right here, these high percentages, the medium and high percent, I do agree is more than likely going to happen. So I do agree with that. I do agree with that. So they do say one day to watch besides the anniversaries. Record Store Day UK 2026 is Saturday, April 18th. Conveniently close to the April 21st Sledgehammer anniversary, and Peter Gabriel has used RSD for special releases recently. Now, continuing on, I did ask about 8K. They said the 8K is not going to potentially happen, which I will agree with. So I'm not going to predict that. So yeah, they did say that the 8K is potential. Um, Now, one thing they did predict is very likely to happen. As I look through this, is another thing I asked them is about an homage to Sledgehammer. They said, yeah, 2026 is pretty good. Is a pretty good quote unquote could happen year for a Sledgehammer homage for two reasons. It's the 40th anniversary year. Peter Gabriel lists Sledgehammer. They mentioned this already. April 21st, 86 being his debut year, and April 21st this year being 40 years. They said number two, Gabriel has been actively encouraging new visuals around his catalog via his 50/50 platform, meant to pair visual creators with his music and share revenue. People have already been uploading a fresh Sledgehammer visuals through the ecosystem. Example, Lightbrush video listed on 50/50 and on YouTube. So yeah. Now I did ask about the female artist specifically doing it, and you know, they basically say that it's a very less chance, but I'm still going to go with the idea that still go with the predict. I'm still going to go with the prediction for 2026 that we'll see a female artist up and coming. And I say with all due respect, no offense, a female artist up and coming or established doing their own homage to the Sledgehammer video with their own song. I've got that feeling. So it's potentially going to happen. Okay. So right now they can't find any announcement. Just okay. So basically I'm gonna say this. Yes, there's a high chance. I'm predicting we're gonna get a 4K HDR, most likely H. This is what I predict. Like I said, the high chance and the medium chance that they put here. I'm gonna go with that. The high chance. Let me look at that again. Hold on. Let me find that. I'm going to go with the high chance and the medium chance of recognition, a repost, a re-upload of Sledgehammer and everything. I do predict that and all that. I do predict that. So I do predict a re-release of the Sledgehammer music video. But I look at it this way: we got the 4K release, we do. But I got a feeling they're going to release the 4K release, but they're going to add HDR or HDR10 plus. That's what I feel is going to happen, and they'll also add in Dolby Atmos because there's a lot of people that have been trying to do that, but and unsuccessfully. Excuse me, there. So I got a feeling that we're going to get one, and it's going to be done officially by the people behind it, and it's going to definitely get a lot of views, and you're going to have a lot more reactions. Um, let's see. And I do, so yeah, and I do probably look at them doing an anniversary set of the So album to coincide with it. CD, CD, audio, cassette, and vinyl. So my predictions are a 4K HDR or HDR10 plus re-upload on YouTube of Sledgehammer, along with Dolby Atmos surround sound on it. That's my prediction on that, and I do predict a 40th anniversary special edition release of the So album, and maybe even a 40th anniversary collector's edition of So as well, which can include not just the physical album or physical record or CD or cassette, but will also include basically the the maybe the lyrics, like the music sheet, that for the song Sledgehammer, and maybe a re-up, maybe a Blu-ray release of the play I don't hold on, guys. I'm getting tongue-tied. Doing this for over 100 minutes gets to you. But like I said, I do predict a potential, like I say, 40th anniversary release of the album, on its own, remastered in Dolby Atmos on vinyl, audio cassette, and CD, and of course streaming digital. But I also predict, as I was trying to say before I got tongue tied there, I also predict I also predict a special 40th anniversary collector's edition, with the physical media version, if you will, maybe even a digital code for to get it off platforms like Amazon and Spotify and all that. I predict that, but I also predict that the collector's edition will include, like I said, the music sheet, the lyrics for Sledgehammer, and it probably will include a Blu-ray, if not 4K Blu-ray release of the Play compilation DVD that he did back in the mid 2000s. That's my prediction. That's my prediction there. For Sledgehammer. Now, moving on. Moving on. I asked ChatGPT, and I talked about this in the first live stream I did in the new year. I asked ChatGPT, do I think Hasbro and Phantom Events have plans for the 40th anniversary of Transformers the movie 1986 and My Little Pony the movie G1 1986? And they said basically right now they can't find any public announcement from Hasbro or Phantom Entertainment specifically saying they're doing 40th anniversary theatrical events in 2026 for either movie. And neither title shows up on Phantom's current upcoming releases list yet, because it's the beginning of the year. They still gotta confirm all these other special releases or re-releases from other movies and events that they gotta coincide with. Now they do say that. Now they do mention this. That said, here's how it looks based on percentage. It says Transformers the movie '86 plausible but unconfirmed. Plausible but unconfirmed. It says Fathom and Hasbro have already partnered to bring the movie to US for the 30th anniversary, which was 5 years ago, or going on 5 years ago. It says Hasbro also supported a separate 40th anniversary for the show cinema event recently, different program than the '86 film, but it shows they'll do theatrical fan events. And that separate 40th anniversary was the three-part of More Than Meets the Eye, along with some interviews and stuff that they got as special features. It says the actual anniversary date for the film is August 8th, 1986. Not 1986, but yeah, 1986, August 8th is when it was released. But this is what they're saying. They say the actual 40th anniversary date for the film, the '86 film, is August 8th, 2026. So if it happens, announcements most likely land closer to mid 2026, which is true. That's what happened with Transform. That's what happened for the 30th anniversary. So so I would say come June or July, most likely around that time frame, you're going to see, maybe late May at the earliest, late May at the earliest, and most accurately June or July at the most accurate. You're going to get an announcement of the 40th anniversary re-release in theaters, and when that happens, I will go and see it. And then they say their guess, ChatGPT that is, reasonably likely you'll be seeing something one night or two night re-release for the Transformers movie, but it's not confirmed yet. But it will be. It will be. Trust me. Then I asked about the G1 My Little Pony movie, and they said much less clear. They said they couldn't find any history of Fathom or Hasbro doing anniversary theatrical re-releases for the '86 My Little Pony movie, and there's no current listing for it on Fathom's schedule. The 40th anniversary date is June 6, 2026. Hasbro is actively developing a new MLP Screen Project live action movie reported in 2025, which could shift attention towards new stuff rather than an '86 re release. They say this, their guess, possible but less likely if it happens. It may be a smaller limited event or tied to a broader Hasbro MLP push. And then, of course, it says best places to watch for an announcement, Fathom's upcoming release site, and Hasbro's newsroom. So that's about it there. So prediction wise, my prediction, ladies and gentlemen, my prediction is yes, we will get a 40th anniversary re-release of not my little. Hold on, let me rewind. Okay, what I was trying to say is we will get a 40th anniversary re-release in theaters of Transformers the movie. We will get it in pristine 8K release, 8K to 12K release. That's what I got a feeling. We will get that, and it will be in Dolby Atmos. It will be Dolby Atmos, and to top it off, I predict Fathom Entertainment will not just have it in regular theaters, but they will also be renting out IMAX theaters. That's right. You're gonna see the regular theaters, the regular Regal, Cinemark, AMC, you name it. You're gonna see those theaters doing it, but you're also gonna see announcements of them renting out IMAX theaters and even a few 4DX theaters. So expect that to happen. That's my prediction. We will get a 40th anniversary release in theaters, theatrical release in theaters of the '86 movie, but it's going to be released in 8K to 12K resolution, and we will have it not just in the regular theaters, but we'll have it also re-released, by Fathom in the IMAX and some 4DX theaters. So expect that. Expect that. And I also do predict we will get a My Little Pony 40th anniversary release theatrically of the '86 movie, but on a less grander scale. I think it'll be maybe for the weekend, and that's about it. So expect those two announcements to happen, but expect Transformers, the movie '86, to get the more grander re-release theatrically in theaters. That's my prediction. Now, on to some other predictions. We know that there is a mobile game coming this year. I think it's called Sonic Rumble, and already a lot of information has leaked out. Now, not Google, but Chat GPT has said that just because certain names have been tied to this data leak, these data mine leaks, and all that, doesn't mean they're confirmed. But they did say something. They did say something very, very interesting. They did say something very, very interesting, and I want you to hear this out. Let me get some coffee before I talk about it. Hold on. And before I do, guys, like I've asked before, do me a favor and that's smash that like button, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, share the video. It helps me out tremendously. And also super chats are open if you want to help donate in that area. It helps me out tremendously. And the affiliated stores are open as well. That helps me out via commissions and helps you out if you're interested in the items there. And they will be listed afterwards. And you can also check them out at the other videos I've uploaded throughout the past few days. Now, ChatGPT I brought this topic up. I brought this question up to ChatGPT. It says, this is my question to it. I said, and I quote, my question to ChatGPT. This was my question. I said, how likely is it that this year in 2026, we will get an announcement of Sally Acorn and any of the Freedom Fighters from Archie Sonic and Sonic SatAM showing up in a Sonic game, whether it's mobile or console? So that was my question right there. That was my question to ChatGPT. Now here's ChatGPT's answer, and they thought about this. I had it on the ChatGPT 5.2 thinking mode. Here's what they had to say, and I quote. Because they thought about it for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. This is what they said, and I quote. This is ChatGPT. If you mean a real official Sega/Sonic team announcement in 2026, not just leaks/rumors, I put it in the quote possible but still an uphill climb bucket. And this is why they say, and I quote, they got bullet points here. They say, what makes it possible? What makes it plausible in 2026? Here's the bullet points. Sega, this is the first bullet point. Sega is clearly more open than they used to be to quote non-core additions and cross-media pull-ins. They say that Takeshi I can't pronounce his name, but the guy in charge, one of the guys in charge of the Sega team, has explicitly said there's, quote, hopefully a good chance for comic characters to appear in the games, noting that IDW characters already appear or are planned to. Okay, let me read that. The first bullet point they said of why it makes it plausible, I should say, why it makes it plausible in 2026. They say this, and I quote, Sega is clearly more open than they used to be to non-core additions and cross-media pull-ins. Takahashi, if you will, has explicitly said there's, quote, hopefully a good chance, unquote, for comic characters to appear in the games, noting that IDW characters already appear or are planned in mobile games. And what he means by that is if you play Sonic Forces and everything, or the new Sonic Rumble. Wait a minute, Sonic Rumble's. Oh yeah, Sonic Rumble's already out, isn't it? It's the other game. It's the I can't think of the name right now. I can't think of the name. Hold on, let me look it up. Let me look it up on my phone. I know it's something. Yeah, I know it's Sonic Rumble's already out, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I don't know why I was talking about Sonic Rumble a lot. I guess that's the only mobile game I know of outside of Sonic Forces and Dash. What is the Sonic mobile game that has had data mine leaks come out about it? Sonic Runners. Sonic Blitz. Here it is. Sonic Blitz. That's the name. Sonic Blitz. So yeah, Sonic Blitz, not Sonic Rumble. Sonic Rumble's already out. But basically, what they're talking about when it comes to, let's say, um, IDW characters already appear or are planned in mobile games. What they're talking about is characters like Tangle and Whisper. They're already showing up, or they showed up, like what, a year or two ago in Sonic Forces Speedrun, and I think even Sonic Dash as well, and recently in Sonic Rumble. Clearly, so they showed up there, and because of the popularity and the fact that fans pretty much did what they could, played certain races in Speed Dash and certain events in Sonic Dash. They were able to collect enough, I guess you could say, stars, red stars, gold coins, and all that to unlock them. Or they just bought them, flat out with the money, with the currency. So basically, a lot of fans were happy to see them included. And again, either they earned them by playing the games, thoroughly through certain races and levels, or they just straight out bought them. They played as them. They played as them as much as they could. I know I did. When I got it. I mean, there's proof of that here on my channel. So obviously, that was enough to tell Sega, hey, fans like these characters, include them eventually in the consoles. So what does Sega do? Next month, it was announced last month, I believe, or at the end of November, going into December, that next month, Tangle and Whisper are going to be in Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. Yeah, and you don't have to pay for them, as far as I know. They'll be automatic. Because I know when I played the first Grand Prix, when I finished the first Grand Prix race on there, that I was able to unlock Knights. I was able to unlock that one single girl, if you will, as well as Joker from Persona. So I'm going to be unlocking Tangle and Whisper when that happens as well. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, we'll have to see who else gets included later on. Now they go on to bring up another bullet point. They said, second bullet point, rights to the SATAM cast look less like the blocker than people assume. Okay, rights to the SATAM cast, this is the second bullet point. Rights to the SATAM cast look less like the blocker than people assume. And this is what they say by that, and I quote, a newly surfaced Sega legal document reported in 2025 indicates Sega, quotes, owns everything. DIC, made including characters made by. Okay, let me read that because the way ChatGPT words this kind of gets them confusing. It says the second bullet point: rights to the SATAM cast look less like the blocker than people assume. A newly surfaced Sega legal document reported last year in 2025 indicates Sega, quote, owns everything. DIC, made, including characters, and even describes Sega having rights to use DIC, produced animation in future games on a royalty-free basis. So in other words, what they're talking about by documents is a lot of people did some research, and a lot of people through various connections found out that Sega does own the Freedom Fighters. They own Sally Acorn. They own Bunny Rabbit. They own Rotorosaurus. They own Dulcie the Dragon. They own Antoine de Cooley. They own Lupe the Wolf, Lupe the Wolf, if you will. They own those characters. They own those characters. So, and many more. and many more. So if they want to put them in there, they can do that without any hassle, or so we think. But we'll get into that in a moment. But here's the third point. They said 2026 is Sonic's 35th anniversary year, which is true. Which is true. And Sega's licensing partners have publicly pointed to a year of celebrations and fan experiences. Quote, they put fans' experiences in quotation. That kind of anniversary window is when companies sometimes do, quote, deep cut nods, if you will. So basically, what they're saying is this being Sonic's 35th anniversary, that does open the door for the potentiality of these characters showing up, or at least being referenced in some capacity. Now, they do mention this. This is another highlight I want you to keep in mind. They said, what keeps it unlikely, and they put this in parentheses, especially for console mainline, quote, mainline. What keeps it unlikely, especially for console mainline, which, by the way, this game here is not mainline game. What they're talking about by mainline, they're talking like frontiers and all that. That's what they're talking about, not this. They're not talking about that. They're talking more like, the frontiers like games and all that, if you will. At least that's what I'm assuming. But this is what they said right here. It's right here on Swammat, if you're curious. It says, what keeps it unlikely, or what keeps it unlikely, and then again, they put this in parentheses, especially for console, quote, mainline, which again, I don't think Crossworld is. And this is the bullet points they put out. Long-standing brand strategy. Sally/Freedom Fighters have been absent from games for decades because the last appearance mainline-wise, or at least somewhat mainline-wise, was Sonic Spinball in the bonus level. They said, rereading that, it says, long-standing brand strategy. Sally/Freedom Fighters have been absent from games for decades, and bringing them back, quote, properly is a bigger creative plus marketing decision than tossing a skin into a runner. Now, this is what they said. Here's so here's, okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, getting tongue-tied. I do apologize. Finished up my coffee. Go figure. But this is what they said, and I quote, what was I? Oh, yeah. Rereading this, it says, long-standing brand strategy. Sally and the Freedom Fighters have been absent from the games for decades, and bringing them back, quote, properly is a bigger creative plus marketing decision than tossing a skin into a runner. So, in other words, what they're saying is basically, if they were to bring them back, let's say in a mainline game, it would basically have to be done properly and have to take a bigger strategic creative planning. Like it would have to take, like if they, for example, if they were to start right now with an idea of bringing them back, maybe in the main line, they would have to basically come up with the ideas of, okay, how do we do this? How do we do that? Stuff like that. And they'd have to figure out, okay, how do we market them as, coming in to the games officially as playable characters and part of a story and all that. Which I don't think they would have an issue with Sonic Crossworld. So that's what they're alluding at, if you will. That's what they're alluding at. Now they do say this, another bullet point. Quote, Archie era legal baggage makes Sega cautious around anything that smells like the old continuity. And this is why, and I think we all know what that is, but they do emphasize this, and I quote, the Pender/Archie debut, the Pender, okay, let me read that. It says, the Pender/Archie disputes are real. Went to federal court and remain a frequent cited reason Sega avoids certain older Sonic concepts/characters. Even if Sally and the core Freedom Fighters aren't the legal problem, the history still creates risk adversary. Risk adversary. That's what it says. Again, I quote. It says the Pender, and this is what the bullet point. This is the bullet point name. It says Archie era legal baggage makes Sega cautious around anything that smells like the old continuity. And this is why. The Pender/Archie disputes are real, went to a federal court, and remain a frequent cited reason Sega avoids certain older comics concepts slash characters. Even if Sally and the core Freedom Fighters aren't the legal problem, the history still creates risk aversion. Risk aversion. So in other words, what they're saying is because of what Penders did, even though Sally and Bunny and Antoine and Dulcie and all them are owned by Sega, what they're saying here is that if they decided, hey, we're going to include them into the games, whether it's Crossworlds or a mainline game with story and everything, what they're saying here is that Sega would not want to do that because Ken Penders could come out and say, "You can't do that. I own those characters or own the rights to the references, so I'm going to take you to court. Yes, I will. Yes, I will." That's what they're afraid of, according to ChatGPT. But I think if it's non-mainline, like I said, an all-star game like Crossworlds, I don't think that would be a problem. I don't think that would be a problem. Now, here's what they say. Here's the third bullet point. Here's the third bullet point, and this is where people have to really acknowledge, the fact that yes, this could happen, but it may not happen. And this is what they said, and I quote: "The third bullet point: leaks aren't commitments. For example, a 2025 data mine report claimed references to Sally and even Nicole in a mobile game package, but that's not confirmation those characters were ever approved for release." So, in other words, what they're saying, according to ChatGPT, is don't believe the leaks until there is confirmation. Yes, it is nice to see their names in the data mine. It is nice to see that, but we're not totally sure if they will be in Sonic Blitz or Sonic Rumble or whatever the case might be. Now, this is what they said: the best estimation for 2026 announcement odds. Announcement odds. Any official announcement at all, any platform, 10 to 25%, mostly driven by the 35th anniversary year plus Sega's increased comfort with broader rosters. And they say that's a 10 to 25% potentiality, of any official announcement. And the reason being, again, mostly driven by the 35th anniversary year plus Sega's increased comfort with broader rosters. So it's a 10 to 25%. Basically saying it's a high chance, very high chance. Second one, which is a 8 to 25%. And they say mobile only appearance, event slash skin limited. Okay. Let me look at that again. Second bullet point, mobile only appearance, and they put this in parentheses, not parentheses, but in apostrophe, not in parentheses, but I can't even think of the word now. Why am I brain farting on that? In a parenthesis, whatever the case may be. Not oh yeah, it is parentheses, not quotations, parentheses, parentheses. It says mobile only appearance, event slash skin slash limited character, 8 to 20%. And they say mobile is where Sega experiments fastest, and even quote testing the waters has the pattern. So in other words, what they're saying, and it says it right there, says it right there. What they're saying is that a 20% chance is good mobile game wise. So if we were to get Sally, at least Sally, if you will, for now, then there's a good chance it would be in a mobile game like Sonic Blitz, Sonic Runners, Sonic Forces Speed Dash, Sonic Dash, you name it. So that's a 20% good chance. The bullet point here: console appearance, playable slash DLC slash cameo in a major release, 3 to 10%. Higher lift, more scrutiny, more quote unquote canon slash branding questions. So in other words, the console would be like less than potential. And then the last one, at 1 to 3%, a big story significant return in mainline console game. That would imply a major strategic shift. So like I said, basically, a game like Sonic Frontiers or whatever, or Sonic Frontiers 2, if they do that, it's very highly unlikely that it would show up there because it would take a lot of re-strategizing, redoing this, redoing that. But Crossworlds, that's a possibility. Blitz, possibility. Dash, possibility. Rumble, possibility. Speedrunner, possibility. Strong possibilities, if you will. And it says it right there if you're curious. And then this is what they say at the end. What I'd watch in 2026. And this is what they said. Highest signal, lowest noise. What I watch in 2026. Highest single signal, highest signal, excuse me, and lowest noise. This is what they say, and I quote. Official Sonic Central showcase events, anniversary year plus more marketing beats, mobile update patterns, hard light style, quote, surprise roster ads tend to happen faster than console planning. And third one, trademark slash brand filings and quote, roadmap hints. Uh, Azuki has said Sonic Team plans releases on an internal roadmap by year. And that's about it. And I do apologize if I got a little brain farty with some of those. I really, really do apologize. But my prediction, going based off this is my prediction going based off of it, is I do believe, I do believe we will get a mobile announcement of Sally and Bunny. That's right. I believe the two freedom fighters I think we will get are Sally and Bunny. That's what I think we're going to get. And I think we're going to get them in Sonic Blitz, if not Sonic Rumble. I do believe that's going to happen, before this year's out, mobile wise. And then I do believe if Crossworld is a game that continues building its roster, because they haven't announced basically what we're going to get in the final quarters. Okay, we don't know what we're going to get in the third or fourth quarter, if you will. We have an idea of the first and second quarter, but we don't have an idea of what the other quarters are going to bring. So if they are still going to commit to making that game bigger in roster size, and as well as environment size and all that, and it's a non-mainline game, then I would say that Bunny and Sally announced for this year mobile wise. I got that feeling. It's going to be for Blitz and maybe for Rumble, because we got, believe it or not, in case you don't know, we got Surge the Tinic from IDW in there in Sonic Rumble, and like I said, we're getting Tangle and Whisper in Crossworlds next month, which means it opens the door for Surge to show up in one of the quarters this year for Crossworlds. So what that tells me is I think more than likely Bunny and Sally for the mobile games, and then potentially by the end of the year, going into next year, if they're still going to do this, hopefully they're still going to build the roster, then I think they'll show up as playable characters by the end of the year, if not the beginning of 2027, which is quarter four in 2026. So I think, honestly, in Sonic Crossworlds, we will get in the summer of this year, which is around the end of the second quarter into the third quarter, we're going to get Surge Titanic and Kit and Jewel and Lanolin. I think we're going to get an IDW package. And then I think around the same time, we're going to get some kind of announcement, confirmed or leaked, of Sally and Bunny being added into Sonic Blitz and Sonic Runners. I believe that's going to happen. And then I believe come quarter four, around that time frame, maybe the end of it, going into 2027's first quarter, I believe we're going to get an announcement for Crossworlds, Sally and Bunny inserted there. I just got that feeling. It's the 35th anniversary, so it makes sense that if they're going to go all out this year, lore, characters, and all that, I got a feeling those are going to be the characters for right now from the Archie Sonic, Sonic ZTM, that I feel Sega will be more safe with going forward. So we're going to get Tangle and Whisper next month. We're going to, in my opinion, prediction-wise, in the summer, we're going to get Surge Titanic and Kit and Lanolin and Jewel from IDW. And then I believe, around that same time, from a mobile perspective, we're going to get Sally and Bunny announced for Rumble and Blitz, mostly Rumble. 'Cause, we don't know what the status of Blitz is right now, but I got a feeling we're going to get that announcement, leaked or confirmed, official, confirmed or leaked. And then I feel as a result, and because people are going to be excited about it, we're going to get Sally and Bunny announced at the end of 2024. Oh, not 2024, at the end of 2026 into 2027, quarter four into quarter one of 2027, quarter four, quarter four of 2026 into quarter one of 2027. Excuse me. We're going to get Bunny and we're going to get Sally announced for Crossworlds. I just got that feeling. I just got that feeling. And also expect expect a teaser trailer this summer, either this summer at the earliest, or when Avengers Doomsday is released. Expect a teaser trailer between the end of the summer, San Diego Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con. Put that date down. Sonic Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con. Excuse me, San Diego Comic Con or New York Comic Con. Mark those two dates down. Those two time frames down. That we're going to get a teaser trailer for Sonic 4. The movie, that is. We're going to get a teaser trailer for Sonic 4 at San Diego Comic Con or New York Comic Con, and then we're going to get a full on trailer, to accompany Avengers Doomsday. That's what we're going to get. And then you'll get the trailer. If you don't get the trailer then, you'll get the trailer when Super Bowl 61 happens. So to me, that's my prediction Sonic wise. That again, along with Tangle and Whisper being in the game, Sonic Crossworld game next month, that because Surge Titanic is in Rumble, she's going to be in the Crossworlds game along with Kit, Lanolin, and Jewel in the summer. That'll be the second into the third quarter. And then going into the fourth quarter, mostly towards the end of it, I got a feeling we'll get Sally and Bunny announced for Crossworlds as well, because I got a feeling in the third quarter of the summer, which is the summer, we're going to get a mobile game announcement of them being in Sonic Rumble and Blitz. I just get this feeling, and I also believe that come San Diego Comic Con, if not New York Comic Con, one of those two dates, keep those marked up, or mark those up right now. You're going to get a teaser trailer for Sonic 4, the movie Sonic 4, and you're going to get a full-on trailer, when Avengers Doomsday comes out. That's just my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. It's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. And also, guys, get this. We don't know who the voice is right now for Amy Rose, but come San Diego Comic Con, I've got a feeling if they do the teaser trailer there, or at least the movie logo reveal, I've got a feeling that's when we're going to find out who the voice is. So San Diego Comic Con, at the most, is we're going to get the logo reveal and the voice reveal for Amy Rose. And if we don't get the teaser trailer then, we'll get it at New York Comic Con, and then a full-on trailer for Avengers Doomsday, if not around Super Bowl 61. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion on that. That's my prediction for that, if you will. But yeah, that's what I feel is going to happen. Now, as far as everything else goes, my prediction for Avengers Doomsday is it's going to hit $1 billion. And my prediction storyline wise, and I don't know if anybody's done this yet, but my prediction storyline wise is this. I think we're going to find out, because here's the thing. We're being told Comic Book Cast 2, Cosmic Wonder, everybody is reporting on this. John Campea is reporting on this. We don't know what to believe. For all we know, Marvel Entertainment and Disney and Kevin Feige, they're throwing us off. The Russo brothers, they're throwing us off, with all this stuff coming out. But here's my prediction. Avengers Doomsday is going to hit $1 billion almost instantly. $1 billion box office. Boom. Done. But here's the story I think that's going to help elevate it to that. There's a lot of reports going around that this takes place somewhat after Doomsday, somewhat after Endgame, somewhat after Thor: Love and Thunder, whatever the case might be. But here's what I think the story is going to be. You got this report of Doom, Doctor Doom, the variant of Tony Stark. Robert Downey Jr.'s character, kidnapping all these kids and all that, all the children of the heroes and all that. Here's what I think is going to happen. Because again, I don't think we can believe anything that gets put out there. I think they like to throw us off. So that way, come the movie, we'll get something we don't expect to happen. But here's what I think is going to happen. Because I feel it's lending itself in that direction. I think what's going to happen is we'll get somewhat of what we're hearing. Some of what we're hearing is going to be true to an extent. But I think what's going to happen is Doom will reveal himself as being Tony Stark. I don't think it'll just be a variant. I think it'll be the real deal. You might ask, well, how that's possible? He died at the end of Endgame. Hear me out. Hear me out. Tony is a genius. He can upload his body, upload his mind to a clone body. He could have done a clone. And yeah, we will get references to the clone saga, in the MCU. Trust me on that. But it won't be Spider-Man related. It'll be more other superhero related. And in this case, with Tony. I've got a feeling Tony will have uploaded his mind to a clone body of himself. He'll don the Doom mask. And I think what's going to happen is he's going to go about doing what people are predicting he's going to, or not predicting, but it's been told through various leaks and all that, what he's going to do. And again, I don't really believe any of that to be true. I think it's being done to throw us off. But but I'll put this. It's like I'll say a 25%, chance that some of that is true. But I think what's going to happen is it's going to get revealed that Tony uploaded his conscious to a clone. Because again, like I said, I think we're going to get the clone saga referenced somewhat, or at least utilized somewhat here in the MCU. Not Spider-Man mostly, but mostly with all the heroes, starting with Tony. And I think he's going to don the Doctor Doom. He's going to don the Doctor Doom disguise, the alter ego. He's going to go off and do somewhat of what's been described, with the kids. And what this is going to lead to is him confronting Steve Rogers. Because Steve Rogers is going to take on that mantle of being the leader again, right? He's going to take on that mantle. And I think what's going to happen is he's going to confront, this being Tony Stark, even in a clone body. He's going to confront him when Steve sees who it is. And Tony confirms it's him, but it's in a clone body. He kept secret and all that. Tony is going to reveal to him that he was in hiding. He was, watching everything, and that he saw what Steve had done at the end of Endgame. And basically, he's going to tell Steve, what I'm doing is all your fault because you couldn't fulfill your end of the deal. You couldn't just go put the Infinity Stones back where they were and then come back. You just had to go and mess up the timeline. That's what I think is going to happen. I think Doom going through with this potential idea of kidnapping the children throughout all these alternate universes, the multiverse, if you will, it's going to be him. The reason he's going to do it is he's going to tell Steve, hey, you made me do this because you want to screw with the multiverse. You want to screw with the timeline because you couldn't accept things as they are. You just couldn't move on. That's what I think is going to happen. And it's going to cause some division with Sam Wilson. It's going to cause some division with the rest of the Avengers and the Thunderbolt Avengers and all that, with Tom Holland, Spider-Man and all that. Because yes, Holland's going to be in there, believe it or not. Whether they want you to believe it or not, whether they say he's not or he isn't, whether they say he's not or is or whatever. I'm trying to find what word to say. He'll be in it. So, my opinion is it's going to cause division, because they're going to be like, wait a minute, because I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anybody besides Sam Wilson and maybe Bruce Banner, I don't think any of them know that the old man that Sam talked to is Steve or was Steve. I don't think anybody really knows about what happened, So unless they do, they don't know exactly, the cause and the reason, right? So I think, honestly, the real plot of this isn't just going to revolve around the kids being kidnapped and everything, or potentially taken and all that. But I think it's going to revolve around the fact that Tony Stark is not happy. He is not happy, with Steve Rogers. And again, I feel that Tony will tell Steve that he basically uploaded his conscious into a clone and everything to keep a silent watch without being known, without being seen. So that way, nobody, not even Peggy, or not Peggy, but not even Pepper Potts, would have to be like, I thought you were dead and all that, and wondering, why he kept it secret. Yeah, he will reveal to Pepper. He will reveal to all of them that he didn't want his identity to be acknowledged. He didn't want to have to come out of death, if you will, and everything. Being dead and not dead, or whatever the case may be. And cause them a lot of trouble. I think what's going to happen is it's going to get revealed, and yeah, it's going to cause dissension. But he's basically going to say, yeah, but I didn't want you guys to know because I wanted to be like a guardian angel. But when I saw what he did, it basically pushed me to do something I didn't want to do, but I had to because it's a last resort because he screwed with stuff. He screwed with the timeline when he shouldn't have done that. So yeah, both the revelation, the reveal that Doom is Stark and it's actual Stark, but in a clone body and everything. Yeah, that's going to cause dissension. It's going to cause some things between him and Pepper, but it's also going to cause dissension with Steve Rogers and everybody else when Tony reveals exactly what Steve did, and or what the effects were about what Steve did, and not just doing what he had to do and coming back. So yeah, I know it sounded like I ramble, kind of went all over the place there. I do apologize, but I feel that that's what's it's gonna lead to eventually. That's gonna be the revelation. It's going to cause dissension, which is going to lead us into Secret Wars, and then that's how everything after Secret Wars is going to get rebooted. But that's just my opinion. Oh yeah, I forgot I finished the coffee. But that's my opinion and everything. So I feel Avengers Doomsday is going to hit the $1 billion mark just like that. But I feel the plot, mainly to simplify it here, is Tony Stark's going to get revealed as Doctor Doom. He's going to reveal that he transferred his mind into a clone, if you will, that he had created just in case, something comes up, or he just wanted to keep a silent watch over everybody like Guardian Angel. But then he saw what Steve did, found out what Steve did, and then decided to take matters into his own hands to fix the damage Steve caused with the multiverse and the timeline. And again, that's going to cause dissension all around with Tony and Pepper and Tom Holland, Peter Parker, and all that. And it's also going to cause dissension with Steve and potentially Peggy and Sam Wilson and all that, because Steve basically endangered everybody by being, I guess in the eyes of Tony, selfish and not, basically putting that aside and everything, for the greater good, for everybody's, existence and safety, but that's just my opinion on it. That's just my opinion. What else do I think is going to happen? What else is my prediction gonna? What else? What other predictions I should say do I have? Well, I'll put it this way. Prediction wise, prediction wise, I do feel, I do feel that we are going to get, and this is crazy to sound, because we heard about it, but we heard about it being announced years ago, a couple years ago, but there was no, I guess you could say, update on it. But I got a feeling this year we're going to get the announcement of a comedy, kind of almost satire comedy on the Invisible Woman. And I say that with all due respect, no offense, but I got a feeling we're going to get a very Naked Gunish like Invisible Woman story where, yes, the character will be invisible, she'll turn invisible, but like I said, being Naked Gunish like in its approach, I got a feeling it's going to be very whimsical, probably more so than anybody can expect. I got a feeling whoever will be the Invisible Woman, and she's invisible, she'll do the the dot strip kind of deal in front of the love interest and all that. You'll just have. I just got a feeling you're gonna have an Invisible Woman movie that's gonna be just so out there. When it's announced, from description and who's going to be in it and who's going to be behind it, that everybody's going to notice it's going to have that naked, and it'll probably be promoted this way, have that Naked Gunish like feel that Naked Gun had last year. So I got a feeling we're going to get an Invisible Woman comedy, satire comedy announcement in the being this year, probably San Diego Comic Con, New York Comic Con, and it's going to be described as being very satire in a Naked Gunish kind of way. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I got a feeling we're going to get that prediction. I really do. I really do. Also, I think with Supergirl, Girl of Tomorrow, or Woman of Tomorrow, I think we're going to get a teaser trailer for the Batman, the Matt Reeves movie. I think we're going to get that. And I think we're also going to get a potential teaser trailer, if not kind of like minute trailer teaser like, of the next Superman film. That's what I feel is going to happen. I really do. I got a feeling that's going to happen. And then also, I think we're going to get at San Diego Comic Con, if not New York Comic Con, we're going to get the logo and we're going to get the premise, for the DC Studios Clayface movie. And like I said, we'll get the logo, probably, like I said, with Sonic 4, most likely at San Diego Comic Con, and the premise. And then maybe we'll get a teaser trailer at New York Comic Con. That's my prediction there. That's my prediction there. As far as, let's say licensed comics, if you will, I think IDW is going to lose a couple more notable titles this year. I really do. I think this year they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose TMNT. I think they're going to lose that. Even though it's a good seller for them, and Last Ronin's a good seller, I think they're going to lose it. Or at least there's going to be rumors going about that TMNT's on the verge of being pulled from IDW and going over to maybe Skybound or somebody else, Boom Studios maybe. And I also got a feeling the same is going to be said for Sonic. I'm not saying they're going to leave, right at the end of the year. I'm not saying at the end of 2026 they're no longer under IDW and they're going to go elsewhere. I'm not saying that, but I got a feeling rumors, big time, more so than ever before, rumors, speculation, reports are going to come out that IDW could be on the verge of losing TMNT and Sonic. I really got that feeling. And I got a feeling that the two comic book publishers that could potentially be on the radar to acquire those licenses are Skybound for Ninja Turtles, and I've got a feeling that Dynamite or Boom Studios is on the radar for Sonic. That's just my opinion. Again, I'm not saying that they'll be gone entirely. I'm not saying that they'll be gone entirely and all that. I just got this feeling that come this year, somewhat, maybe the summer, more than likely, you're going to hear reports that IDW may be on the verge, unless they shape up, may be on the verge of losing TMNT and Sonic by the end of the year to either Skybound for TMNT and Dynamite or Boom for Sonic. That's just my prediction. That we'll get at least rumors, if you will, and maybe even close to legit reports that that's potentially on the table of happening. And again, that's just my opinion. But yeah, if there's anything else, can't really say. Yeah, can't really say. So that's pretty much going to do it for my predictions video, guys. Again, a lot of these predictions, just like with any other prediction video you see here on YouTube or Rumble or Daily Motion or wherever, a lot of these predictions may not even come true. A lot of them may come true to an extent or may have some backing behind them. But those are just my predictions from what I see, from wrestling to Sonic to everything else. Those are just my predictions. So thank you all for watching, jumping in when you did. In case you didn't make it here in time for the live stream, comments are going to be open below, and super thanks will be open if you want to help donate in that manner after it's all said and done. And I will have some affiliate listings store-wise, so you can click on those and see what you would like to maybe purchase for yourself, and helps me out commission-wise as well. But that's about all I can say, guys. I do apologize if I was all over the place, had a few brain farts. This is what happens when you go 2 hours straight, or 2.5 hours straight, if you will, with live streaming, especially on a predictions video. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. You haven't already in the live chat, and I thank the person that was in the live chat. Thank you very much for showing up. That being uh, let me see if I read it. That being Grand Franco Lorata. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate it, man. And guys, smash that like button down below afterwards while you watch this. In its post live stream form. And that's really all I can say, guys. So thank you all for watching. Give me your thoughts again in the comment section. Do you agree with some of my predictions and all that and what I have to say here? And until next time, take care. God bless. Be safe out there. And I will talk to y'all later. And I am out. Peace. Take care.